Shimazu clan has a fight with the Western Army. Shimazu clan asks for help, so Toyohisa, the assistant of Ministry of Center, comes to help. Toyohisa's uncle asks him to return to Satsuma, but he refuses. Shimazu clan are fighting with army of Lai Naomasa, which was raised by Takagawa. Toyohisa and Naomasa fought, and Toyohisa was able to cut off his head. The commander-less Western Army decides to retreat and fall back. During all of this, Toyohisa was badly injured. After finishing Naomasa, Toyohisa decides to head back to his home Satsuma back. When Toyohisa walks into a room with many doors and a strange man reading a newspaper in front of him, he is already hurt. Confused, Toyohisa asks for details, but the man stays silent and sends him to one of the rooms. The next day, injured Toyohisa was unconscious on the ground. Two elves named Marka and Masha found him and recognized him as a drifter. The elves decided to take him to the deserted castle. Although the elves are careful, because if anyone sees them helping a drifter, they will face serious consequences. When they reach the castle, they meet with Nasu Sutaka Yoichi. Yoichi tells the elves to leave Toyohisa and head back right now. Nobunaga then asks Yoichi to bring unconscious Toyohisa in so they can treat him. Both treat him, and finally he wakes up. Toyohisa asks the two to introduce themselves. Toyohisa sees a Maku crest and suspects Nobunaga from Oda clan. Nobunaga clears him that he is the Oda himself. He is the former minister of right of the Oda clan. Toyohisa does not believe him because Lord Nobunaga was dead long time ago. Nobunaga tells Toyohisa that he was betrayed and killed by Akechi's Kyoto. Toyohisa freaks out because it's been 18 years since Lord Nobunaga died, but according to Nobunaga, it's been 6 months only. Yoichi goes on and introduces himself. He was 11 brothers. Toyohisa does not believe Yoichi because he was present at the time of Genpei War. This happened 400 years ago. Toyohisa takes some time to cool down. All of them came across the strange peculiar man named Murasaki. Nobunaga asks about his son from Toyohisa. He became sad after hearing about his death. His son was killed by an attack from Mitsuhide at Nijo Castle. Nobunaga's son was trying to avenge his father. Hamu is seen to be spying on two other drifters who are about to fight, but Hamu interferes. Marka and Masha are being scolded by their father for helping a drifter, and he warns them not to do it again. On the other hand, Toyohisa, Yoichi, and Nobunaga sense something is off with the elves and they might be in danger, so they decide to go and help them. Toyohisa meets Marka and Masha, and the elves asks Toyohisa help. Toyohisa wants to return the favor he owes them. Nobunaga wonders who these are who are attacking elves. All of this was heard by the Grand Master of Ox System, named Abi no Haruakira. Ebbet explains the drifters have only one goal, that is to conquer. Elves were attacked by a commander named Aram. Aram yells at them that they helped a drifter, which is a grave sin for demi-humans. Listening to this, the elves started objecting. So Aram told them it was their ancestors who lost the war against us. As a result, all elves are nothing more than slaves. Aram mocks the elves by telling them that one day all demi-humans will become extinct. Aram starts slaughtering the young elves while everyone tells them to stop. Marka and Masha were able to bring Toyohisa to help them. Everyone notices the wheat yield they grew is burned just before the day of harvesting by Nobunaga. Nobunaga enjoys seeing the soldiers panic from afar. Toyohisa goes one-to-one fight with Aram. Toyohisa hands the wounded Aram to the elves, who beat him to death. Marka and Masha tell the other elves to calm down and tell them it was Toyohisa they saved earlier. Omino, who was keeping an eye on the drifters, informs the Grand Master about everything that has happened. Izzy and Murasaki meet, and Izzy tells Murasaki to stop all their efforts as drifters cannot win with the Black King. But Murasaki decides to stay quiet and ignore her. In a castle, power of in charge are being discussed between drifters and the soldiers. A fight is about to start when Grand Master of Octobrist intervene. He announces his decision of leaving the castle at once and the drifters must escape. The castle was attacked by the soldiers of Black King, and a fight starts between the two. Shinsengum Kanon Asoshi enters the world and sees the castle burning up, so he decides to help the Octobrist unknowingly. Grandmaster is worried for the drifters' safety because the castle is surrounded by enemies' army from all sides. Grandmaster asks help from the drifters and they accept. With the help of drifters, they were able to exit the area through West Gate. Black King is infuriated seeing the drifters exit. He orders to eliminate the drifters at all cost. Omino is captured by the three drifters. She explains that drifters are brought from other worlds, and the people who brought them are known as the Ends. They are very evil. Octobrist is an organization that has to gather all the drifters and save them. Omino asks Yoichi, Toyohisa, and Nobunaga to join them, and they accept. She continues to explain that the Ends have brought deep malice towards the world. Their goal is to exterminate human beings, and for that reason, they have gathered monsters and demi-humans. Elves are magicians, and they want drifters to lead them. Nobunaga tells Omino that there is only one goal of a drifter, and that it is to conquer. He recommends that they start the conquest campaign immediately, and that Toyohisa lead them. Omino finds the drifters insane, but accepts them anyway. Omino explains that every time the Black King is attacked, the whole world suffers, and this makes the Black King more determined than ever. This angers the drifters. The Black King has been told about the loss their army suffered during the attack. The king decides to use his healing power as much as possible. The king orders his army to spread the news of the victory over the castle. It is now revealed the reason behind the king's hatred towards humans. Humans rejected him when he offered his services. So now he will help the humans and destroy the world. The only reason for him to kill drifters is that only drifters can stand against him. Later that night, all the elves are gathered at one place when they are thinking about their next steps as they kill the commander. Omino, Yoichi, Toyohisa, and Nobunaga go to see the elves. Omino explains to Nobunaga how she was able to speak the drifters' language. It was the same as the talismans created by the Onmyoto astrologers in Kyoto. Nobunaga asks Omino about the history of elves. She explains that decades ago, humans defeated them in battle and made them slaves. Toyohisa finally gets the courage to speak to the elves. Toyohisa gives them two options. Either they can fight and be proud of their ancestors, or they will die defeated. Toyohisa tells them that they have to take back the land that belonged to the elves. Toyohisa gets into an argument with Nobunaga and tells him that he is not his son but feels bad. Shira, who was the son of a chef who was murdered, stops them. Shira convinces his fellow elves to join the drifters, and they all agree at last. Shira tells them that their country was destroyed 40 years ago, so they don't know how to fight. Omino explains that elves have a long life, but the process of maturity is slow, so they don't look aged. This shocks the drifters. Shira tells them that their land was conquered by the Orte, the great human kingdom. Along with the elves' land, he also conquered the land of dwarfs and hobbits. The soldiers have captured female elves to stop the elven population, or has declared the states to be one empire. Nobunaga asks about Toyohisa's plan. Toyohisa tells everyone to wait for the army to enter the village. The next day, the troop arrives and finds it strange that the village is empty. They are wondering what happened in the village. The elves and the drifters are watching them from afar. A throwback shows the time when elves were preparing to fight. Yoichi has brought the weapons and armor suits for the elves to wear. Nobunaga is seen mixing corpses with soil and sulfur. Yoichi is training the elves, and they are fast learners. At night, Toyohisa motivates them to fight for their rights. Back in the present, the soldiers are looking for the elves when the elves attack and kill them all. Some soldiers decided to run away, but they got trapped in the forest. Nobunaga leads the elves. He had made a special mixture, and even the arrows were dumped in it. When the elves are about to celebrate, Toyohisa stops them. He tells them to get ready to go to the castle and save the elven women. On Toyohisa's order, elves change and wear armor. The castle commander is worried about the troops. By now, the troops should have been returned. At the same time, the commander is told about the troop arrival. Elves have disguised themselves as the troops. Once they are inside, they reveal themselves and attack the castle. Elves are divided into two groups. The Nobunaga group will deal with the soldiers, and Toyohisa's group will save the female elves. Seeing the women elves abused badly, Toyohisa decides to kill every one of the soldiers. Nobunaga stops Toyohisa and tells him that he is not old enough to order such things. In Toyohisa's place, he gives order himself. Nobunaga orders the elves to go through every paper and gather as much information as possible. Nobunaga sees the portrait of the father of Orte and inquires about him. He created the Orte Empire, but ended his own life for reasons still unknown. Drifters saved the village and returned their women safely back to them. The women that were returned carried gifts from Nobunaga. It was a proclamation in which he was inviting males to join them in this war. An 11th century revolt was sparked in the whole country. At the Orte's castle, they are worried about the current situation, and a meeting is going on between the politicians. Count Semi, who is the most powerful of them all, arrives. He has 1/3 of Orte's army. Many elves join the drifter at the castle. Nobunaga is determined to make Toyohisa emperor against his will. The elves start their training. Nobunaga asks the elves about the guns. Elves tell him that dwarves are the ones that can make it as they are very skilled. During the training, the elves are attacked by the army of the Black King. Nobunaga takes the matter in his hands and tells the elves to get ready and gather the weapons. As the fight starts, both of the armies continue to mock each other. All three drifters are divided, and they fight with their best ability. Just as Yoichi is about to be killed by John, Nobunaga arrives and kills him after some struggle. Nobunaga was surprised to see that John had turned into salt. The Grandmaster arrives with 2 more drifters, Hannibal and Scipio. The Grandmaster introduces himself and reveals himself as a drifter. Yoichi reminds Lord Yoshitsune of what he did during the battle. Toyohisa arrives and asks about the Grandmaster, as he does not know him. The Grandmaster accepts that he also met with Murasaki. During the attack, a woman from the enemy attacks Toyohisa, but he lets her go, despite the fact that she was the one who deserved to be killed. When Grandmasters know about this, it angers them. Toyohisa asks about Hannibal's wired behavior, and the Grandmaster tells him, when they were on their way to the castle, Scipio was left behind, and they could not trace him back. Nobunaga learns about the gladding gun, which amazes him. Ulmanope has brought the sulfur from the headquarters of Ox System. Nobunaga wants to save the dwarfs, wipe out the Orte Empire, and make Toyohisa the emperor. Aiden no Haruakira asks the reason for making Toyohisa the emperor and not himself. Nobunaga simply replies that Toyohisa knows how to conquer hearts. Toyohisa goes to the elves and tells them the plan to rescue the dwarves. Although the elves are not ready to rescue the dwarves, so Toyohisa goes there by himself. Seeing him leave motivates the elves to change their minds and not repeat history again. As in the past, dwarfs had the power to save the elves from slavery, but they stood quiet. The mines are attacked by the elves. Full armed forces come out to save the mine from attack but fail. Nobunaga gives Hannibal an idea on how to enter the mine. Nobunaga sent a message to Toyohisa, and they finally entered the mine. Toyohisa finds dwarfs in terrible condition. They look malnourished. Toyohisa decides to let the dwarfs eat first and then continue the attack. Toyohisa gives the soldiers and commander a chance to make a decision to run while he eats. All soldiers give in and drop their weapons. Toyohisa still kills the commander and lets the soldiers go. Count Semi's carriage has arrived at the castle where the drifters used to stay. He orders Mills to hide the 11 elves and goes to greet him. Count Semi requests to meet the drifters, but they are not present at the moment. Count Semi decides to wait for them. The Black King, on the other hand, puts an end to the Silver Dragon. The Silver Dragon asks for help, but the Black King ignores his request. Back at the mine, the dwarfs have now healed properly. They are not only the blacksmiths but also use the axes efficiently. Dwarves get ready to work and fight for them as they were the ones saved by the drifters. The dwarves are shown a sample of the musket, and they get to work. The dwarves decide to make one musket in a day, surprising Nobunaga. Count and her minions arrive at the mine to meet the drifters. Count proposes to help them and sell the Orte Empire. He promises to take them into the city safely. The Count lets the dwarves, drifters, and elves into the city easily. Nobunaga is a bit concerned that he can be betrayed also, just like he betrayed his empire, but decides to go with the flow. On Count Semi's order, a meeting is arranged with the important politicians of the empire. He brings them the news of the Orte Empire going out of business soon. To save the empire from such a downfall, he has sold the empire to the drifters. Now the dwarfs will make this city from the scratch. The politicians agree, but they refuse Toyohisa's leadership. Count introduces a gay army of 500 commanders. The musketeers are also not tested for once, so Nobunaga is a bit concerned. A commander of the Black King's army named Rasputin arrives in the city to deal with the drifters. The capital is on fire. Toyohisa angers Rasputin by humiliating him. Hijikata and the Black King are supporting Rasputin. 3 drifters separate and take one type of army to start the counterattack. All 3 of them are working spontaneously. The Black King's army is seen to be falling behind. The army commander is busy with Toyohisa, so the Black Army is commanderless. So the army comes up with a new plan. The army is divided into smaller units spread across the city. Their aim is to set the capital on fire and gather at one main building. At the main building, Naganaya is waiting for them. As soon as the soldiers arrive, the gay army kills them with the musketeers. Rasputin sees his whole army burning. As soon as Rasputin was about to be killed, he fled and apologized to the Black King for failing. Toyohisa calls him a coward for running away like this. The season ends as Mitswide wants to join the drifters soon.